So thugs.
Uh, watched the clip of the first one you sent me, but not since. No, forgot about it.
Yeah, yeah. I just So thugs. Oh, we're live now. And it shows okay. The monitor works. So we're live. Anyway, yeah, I was just mentioning shout out to Ortho Thugs. No, I just thought of it not because of necessarily their content, but those two guys do well, hey everybody, we're live. Mid conversation. I'll pick it back up there and say why in a second. But hey Chris, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, Garrett? Not too much, my friend.
Welcome everybody to the channel. Um, we're just going to keep going on some of the topics we brought up the last few times. But before we do, Chris, I was mentioning the Ortho Thugs, which is made by Jim Bob and um, Hello Listener on YouTube. And they got to know each other a little bit and then started the show Ortho Thugs together. And it's kind of like an in joke from Jim Bob's streams. He was saying, oh, forget Ortho Bros, let's be Ortho Thugs, just
Nice.
playing off that, how it's like become a derogatory term. And then he was like, well, screw it then. And they're actually super sweet anyway. But uh, made me think of us starting the channel because they just started it, and then the first couple episodes, they're like, "Well, what are we actually doing? Like, what?" And then they're like, "Well, this is what we're doing right now," you know. And then I sort of got some amount of direction, and then they do some sketches and comedy stuff because they're both artists or musicians and that kind of thing. But I just thought of it in relation to you and I, that we can push through. Now we're being consistent. Been pretty much consistent. Missed the week when I had a guest, um, but yeah, I think we'll discover where to go with this. For sure, merch. Merch is in the future, but
Definitely.
Orthodox merch, sort of death themed. Uh, yeah. I don't want to stay on the occult topic forever, but I guess I do think of it like there's a bridge to be built, or the bridge that already exists from all that stuff, the occult stuff, the New Age stuff, to Orthodoxy. And the base of that, as I understand it, is that any earnest seeker of the truth will end up at Christ. And then if you're still being honest and earnest, you'll parse through all the seeming options. Like even if you say the word denomination, well, what's the original that is a denomination of? All of it points to an original. All of it implies an original. Uh, so then you end up at orthodoxy. That's how it worked for me. I guess that's how it worked for you. Uh, and we've just listened to you. Did you listen to that whole talk, the one you sent me? Uh,
Talk, and then I went back and started listening to a one she did a year ago. Mm. But yeah, we could talk about that.
oh, the audio is weird, man. It comes through really nice and then it cuts. I don't know what happened or what's different from before. Were you using like the car audio before?
Into the car before, and now I have the headphones in. Um, how's it now? Is it the same?
It's fine, but it cut off the first couple words of your sentence. I'm not sure what's going on.
On speaker and not using my headphones, but I don't know if it's the headphones. No,
That makes it kind of weird too. Like
like the headphones.
like a phone call level. I don't know if there's something I forgot my headphones at somewhere this week. What about personal audio isolation? Audio settings. Maybe something on my end. I don't think so though. Hmm.
Well, I'll go speaker and we'll see if it happens. Hopefully, it doesn't pick up other noise in my house.
That's all right. Now it sounds fine. I can hear you
How
though.
is it?
I can hear you all right
Okay,
now.
let's
Yeah.
do that then. So, what you said, reflecting back on what you just said, that there's a bridge between the occult and orthodoxy. And I guess what I would add to that is that, yeah, I think anybody who finds the occult is an earnest seeker to some degree. That's why they found the occult and didn't just settle for mainstream, right, Christianity or whatever they were born into. So it implies that you're seeking the fact that you've discovered something that's not right out in front, and you know,
Yeah, with the caveat that there's people that are abducted into it, like according to that woman.
sure.
Well, but they were already on the boundaries of it, or they got, or yeah, sometimes kids get kidnapped or brought into it. Yeah.
Yeah. But even in her case, it was like she found that out of an earnest degree of an earnest desire to stop suffering and
Yeah.
and and genuine kind of aptitude for spirituality,
Mhm.
right? So like susceptibility and sensitivity go hand in hand. It's like if you're sensitive, you're also susceptible to be deceived and to be used and to be traumatized and so on. That's one thing I put together with her talk is like every psychic out there probably has trauma, and that's how they developed and even gained some ability for psychic abilities was out of a protection to feel safe. It's like, the little kid in the corner whose
Yeah.
dad comes home drunk, like they have to learn how to read certain signs that other people don't have to who grow up safe, right? So there's a traumatic element almost, it seems, to getting involved into the occult every time. Um, I don't know.
Yeah. The I knew a woman who, I guess I still know her. Sure, her father was like an angry, violent alcoholic, and she could tell by the way the door sounded, by the sound of him opening the door, if he was wasted or not, you know. And
Exactly.
I really enjoyed having deep conversations with her because she could look right through me, you know.
Yeah.
And we were able to go pretty deep with just connecting and just on the talking level because of that. But it also like spun her out a little, you know.
Yeah. Mm.
Like she's that hypersensitive in time situations where she doesn't need to be, you know.
Right. Right.
And kind of got infected by some type of feminism as a result as well, you know, like which the work she does is amazing, but the worldview is more, let's say, more feminist and less orthodox, even though she is orthodox by birth.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a direct link, between feminism and the occult, and it's like it starts in the garden, right? The serpent went to Eve first and told her, this is all bullshit, woman's power, like, disobedience is the key, and stop letting the man hold you down. It's like I watched that
Yeah.
silly movie with Jack Nicholson and what was it, the Witches of Eastwick?
Oh,
You
yeah.
seen that one?
Yeah. I
And
saw
it's
it a
like they
long time ago, but yeah.
yeah, it's ridiculous, but they nailed it too. He's like he goes and gets the women, and he's like, he's a feminist basically, and he's trying to empower women and liberate them sexually and with music, and and that's it. And that's what we see in the culture now is this feminization of men and this masculine women go out there. You don't need no man.
Yeah. You don't
Go,
need
go
no
get a
man,
job.
girl.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
whole trip. I know it's ridiculous. And it's like even a man can't say that to another man. You know what I mean? You can't
right.
even say,
Yeah,
you don't need no
exactly.
man. It's like, dude, how do you think this all holds together? Like,
Right. Yeah. You know how a microwave works or anything?
yeah, yeah, exactly. I know. And then they argue, well, women can be equal now because there's guns, and it's like, how much ammo can you carry? You know, or like, who makes the guns? Who's at those factories? You know?
Yeah.
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 And that's not to demean women, but it's to say like reality is obviously patriarchal and hierarchical, and we're not at the top of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what stood out to you with that talk with her with what did she call herself? Justine Alter.
Justine Alter, and she changed it to like alter, like as in change. Well, she was like, this was interesting. She joined the church as a way to basically like, from the way she explained it, she joined the church. Well, for people who haven't seen the video, we can, if I remember, I can link it in the description here. But she joined the church as a way to basically take power from the sacraments and from that kind of stuff. And it made me think of on some of Father Cosmas' talks. I forget which ones, some of the earlier ones on the Orthodox Talks channel or podcast. He mentioned, especially in Kosovo, where he was uh, living as a monk for many years in that area, that due to the Turkish influence there, and I think some of the pagan influence that held over, that there's a lot of fortune tellers and all these kind of people. And they would come in and ask for the what do you call? I forget the Greek name. I forget the Serbian name. But the bread you get at the end of the end of liturgy, but like for any that anyone can get, you go up and
Yeah,
kiss the cross and take the bread. I don't know what it's called, but
me neither.
I forget now. Is it prosphora or something? I can't remember. It doesn't matter what the name of it is, but that people were taking that with them. And at some of those churches where he was, or the monasteries where he was, they had to force the people to eat it there because they were bringing it to those fortune tellers, and the fortune tellers would have icons and stuff up because they knew that they needed the people to trust them,
Mm,
and then they would ask them to bring stuff from the communion
I
or
see.
from the church, something from the church.
Yeah, well, for me, it reminds me of like I was doing something similar, just, a la Robert Anton Wilson. It's like go get initiated everywhere,
Yeah.
right? Get all the initiations, and that's that. I was like, yeah, for sure. That's it. Go get Tantra initiated, hang out with as many masters from as many different traditions as you can, and learn it all, and that's the way, And obviously, that's ridiculous, especially in spirituality when well, once you realize all there is prayer and fasting, like there's only one way, and it's asceticism.
Yeah.
There's no left hand path. There's no right hand. Like there's just the way, and it's an ascetical way, um, which is obvious once you see that. Like um, either you're carnal and you're tied to your body and every whim, or you're not. Or you're on the path of not being that, which would be technically be more spiritual than material.
Mhm.
Um, so this whole right hand path, left hand path, it's not even. But that's kind of the worldview of all of that. Like the whole New Age
I know, dude. I know.
is
We're,
that
we're all
because
awake. Humanity's awakening now. Blah blah blah.
yeah, and it's just take what you will, and it's like every single psycho now that I talk to, like they find the way to Buddhism because that's at least more substantial and also amenable to any other path you want. Because if you just have emptiness and like Buddha nature, you don't have to do anything, and so most of the people I have, they find their way eventually to Buddhism if they're in the plant medicine world, and they just mix it all up, Reiki with the yoga teacher training, with NLP, just all these techniques, right? Everything except prayer and fasting.
Hmm.
Although at least for the plant medicine community, there's some discipline there because you have to fast at least for before your next ayahuasca ceremony. But it's all ego fasting. It's like it's to feel good and it's to be prepared for your next grand download of Mama Ayahuasca and your next instructions of whatever nonsense you
Yeah.
you want to tell yourself.
Man, I feel like the main thing I felt listening to that was so fucking protected. And my mind goes back all the way like to these crazy hitchhiking times too, like sleeping outside. We talked about that a little bit, but that getting picked up by so many Christians and then like being involved with all the occult stuff. And like when I look back, it was like LARPing. But as I was telling you off the stream, not on the air, about like there was like a murderer guy around that was involved in one of the groups I was in. I don't want to say where any of that took place, but he's on death row now because he got went back to jail afterward. By that time, I was already out of those groups, but two other guys that were in one of the groups, who I thought these guys were cool, uh, they later on suddenly they weren't showing up anymore. And I was like, oh, I wonder what happened to them, you know? Everything kind of shifted around. And And then I saw a news article, and the father and son had both gone to jail for CP, and they were like high up people in that group. And I kind of thought, oh wow, that like because they were completely kicked out of the group and everything, excommunicated completely. But I thought all these things were like anomalies, you know?
Yeah.
Wow,
Same.
all
Yeah.
these good people, and then those two. And I don't know to what degree there was more people involved in that, you know? These are all guys who'd known each other for decades before I got there.
Yeah. This
Uh,
was OTO times or
yeah, OTO, Masons,
yeah.
that kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
stuff. And again, I don't want to talk bad about any individual person. Some of those people I'm still friends with, and they know that I'm Orthodox, and they're totally chill about it. And I realized those are people that were actually friends, and then the whatever group stuff was secondary.
Yeah. 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 So, um, I met a couple at church that we got along. We hit it off real quick, and the woman, a couple, we should have
Hmm.
them on the podcast at some point. But she just found out that her, not just found out, but just kind of, started realizing the significance that her dad and grandpa and great grandpa were all Masons.
Yeah.
Um, and then like remembering things as a child and like strange Halloween parties and things like this. But she's like she never and she went down kind of the occult path too, more like new age, and is like a life coach and stuff, and like
Yeah.
Reiki and NLP, that type of stuff. Past life regressionist. Like she did past life regression for like people in Hollywood and stuff. They lived in Hollywood for a while and were in that kind of scene. And um, but anyway, I kind of told her what, she was kind of blown away when I told her what Freemasonry is from my perspective. But then I left a comment on like Substack, a kind of, kind of poking fun at Freemasons or whatever. And some guy like asked me what's my definition of Freemasonry? So I gave mine, and he's like, yeah, that's not Freemasonry at all. Freemasonry has nothing to do with Gnosticism. Crowley has nothing to do with Freemasonry. Um, what's his name? Moral and Dogma. Albert Pike. He ruined Freemasonry. Like there was a pure Freemasonry before all the occult
Yeah,
stuff
yeah, of
got
course there
added to
was.
it. That's
Yeah, yeah,
basically
yeah.
right. So I looked at his post though, just to look into it a little bit,
Yeah.
and basically what his argument is, and he points back to like a 13th century Catholic guy, something Lull, L-L-U-L or Lull, that it's the combination of Euclidean geometry, Neoplatonism, and Christian, overtly, fundamentally Trinitarian Christianity, and those in a kind of syncretism of
But
those
see,
three
right
groups.
there, there's a huge problem. Do you know what it is, though?
Well, one, I would say it's syncretism.
Well, yeah,
Um,
the huge problem is that if you're using all three of those, one of those has to be Orthodoxy, which is probably Catholic, not Orthodox, so it's already a heretical sect.
right.
But what catches my mind is when it's same with this woman who was infiltrating the church and then suddenly became Orthodox instead of the occult stuff, is that if you are doing Orthodoxy and then doing something that's anathema, you're not doing Orthodoxy, actually. You're doing
Yeah.
something else. So even if everything he said is true, that
Yeah.
Masonry is those three things, let's just be completely charitable and grant all that to be true.
Right.
It's still a broken worldview because you're not you're breaking the rules of the truth rules, not rules. You know what I mean? But you're not following orthodoxy if you're doing those other two things.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I told him too. I was like, granted that everything you say is true, like still everything points to Christ and to the divine liturgy, which is the fulfillment of every ritual. Like whatever, let's boil it down to symbolism and ritual. Like say that's all Freemasonry. Like you can just take everything back to that and the divine
Yeah,
liturgy. There's no grander possible ritual than that, and all the symbolism is already inherent in the church. So you're not adding anything. You're just saying that well, we can somehow make rituals that transform the human better than the church can,
right.
except that, by adding Plato's philosophy and geometry in there, so that's yeah, it's just it's the arguments are over there. as you pointed out as well. So, but it was interesting to jump back in that rabbit hole for a second and just see what somebody else said that just kind of landed in my lap. So,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
no, I know. I try to stay away. I mean,
yeah.
but maybe I should just be totally contentious, you know. I don't know. I don't know where to balance that out. I don't want to be a total dick, but I am a total dick sometimes. So maybe I should run with that. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I was charitable and I was like, you know what, I'll read some of your stuff, man,
Hmm.
and he thanked me and then subscribed to my page and has been liking my posts. So, there's hope.
Cool. You're much nicer than I am, yeah, for sure. Uh,
So yeah, sometimes at least.
sometimes at least, just not with my family in private. Then
Yeah,
I'm a
you're
dick.
right.
No, no.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Shut up! No.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm on a fucking stream. Yeah. Oh man. I'm trying to put music on in the background, but I see that there's apps for Zoom, so I'm trying to make it like we're a little more professional here. Uh,
Yeah, right.
but it's like really, it was just, how does this work? Does it give us volume?
On that note, give me 5 seconds. I'll be right back.
Okay, I'll mess with the music thing here. I can't hear it. Let you guys on the stream let me know. Oh, I should check the comments. Do we have comments? We don't have comments yet. Live chat. I don't think we have live chat. Okay. Um, small channel. Small channel. Well, let's go back to the. Oh, I can hear the music. Okay, cool. Beethoven's Fifth. Just let that play in the background. Let's see. Oh, hopefully it doesn't get us copyright strike. But anyway, those of you watching, thanks for being here on the stream. It's a lot of fun so far. Yeah, so thinking about the what Chris was just talking about, that syncretism that people end up putting themselves at the height as like the final arbiter of the truth. So just throw out 2,000 years of church history and tradition, and in some cases throw out all tradition entirely, make yourself the arbiter, and then you just kind of hack together bits and pieces of different so-called systems. But the presupposition to that syncretism is that all systems have something valid in them. And now that is a perversion or an inversion of something called logos spermaticos, which, just to be accurate here, I'm going to look up a definition of spermaticos because it's an interesting discussion. Maybe we'll talk more about this later. And I'm by no means an expert on any of this, but and why does it give it to me in I'm getting real weirdness on my. Let's go. Yeah, I'm getting it in like Hungarian. No, okay. Let's go back. I found a better page. Logos Spermaticos. There we go. Okay, so we're going to say that. So Logos, Christ is the Logos, the Word of God. So I'll just read this Logos Spermaticos page from Encyclopedia Herder. For the Stoics, these are creative or operative principles. Physis, physis in Greek, feces, no, physis, develops according to a plan found in the logoi spermaticoi, which is realized as things come onto, which is realized as things come into being. Pneuma contains the seeds of all things, and everything that exists, has existed, or will exist is contained in these seeds. So that reality is a deterministic, no, that's a problem right there, unfolding of the potentialities contained within them. In this way, a single universal logos physically constituted by fire, contains within itself all the forms of things. A precedent for the Stoic conception is found in the panspermia of Anaxagoras, for whom everything contains the seeds of everything. Now, that's monism. That's also a broken worldview. The Neoplatonic tradition accepts the Stoic thesis of logospermaticoi, or seminal reasons, as it will be translated in Latin tradition, which contain things like seeds. But unlike the Stoics, Plotinus affirms that these seminal reasons are found in the soul. For St. Augustine, who translates and adapts most of the theses of Neoplatonism to Christian ideas, the logos spermaticos are latent in the cosmic elements as seeds of all things that come into bodily life. According to Augustine, God created the world by his word and deposited in matter the seminal reasons of all future beings. Therefore, all living species are immutable, correspond to the divine ideas, and have been in matter since creation. Now, that's also not quite correct. Let's go back and find an Orthodox definition. Definition of logos spermaticos. Okay, here we go. So, in Orthodox Christianity, logos spermaticos refers to the seeding or spermatic logos, a partial and innate seed of divine reason sown in all humanity by the pre-incarnate Christ. This concept, primarily articulated by St. Justin Martyr, explains how pre-Christian philosophers and lawgivers could discover partial truths. They were drawing from this seed of the divine word. It is not the full logos, Jesus Christ, but a capacity for truth, virtue, and reason that makes people capable of seeking God even before they have a full understanding of the Christian revelation. So it's an adaptation of the Stoic concept, but it's through the wholeness of the truth and with an unbroken worldview, or a coherent worldview. So the divine logos, the second person of the Trinity, who is the source of this truth. It is also the divine image within every human being, a capacity for virtue, reason, and a desire for God, which is a product of creation in God's image. Now, that's what kind of we're getting at is all the seekers, there you are, Chris. All the seekers after the truth have that within them, or all of us have that within us. And then it gets distorted or perverted or hijacked or otherwise taken over. And this circles back to what I mean about, oh, do you hear the background music, by the way?
Yeah.
Some Mozart, I guess. I just put on whatever they had. It seems like a cool app. I could put on mindfulness and meditation background music, Chris. That'd be better for you, huh? Or no, or combine that with world music. Yeah.
There you go. Some sitars and some ohms.
Oh man, ambient essentials. There is a great. They must. I'm guessing they're Protestants. I don't know. I don't care at this point, but. Christian ambient. There's a beautiful playlist on Spotify, kind of the top one, and it's all these bands like Salt of the Sound, and Antarctic Wasteland is another one. They're all like in the same genre together, and they have play on the same playlist together. I haven't looked into who they are or what they are, but it's definitely like Christian overtly, and no words, so it's not like cheesy.
Yeah. Nice.
Really nice
Check
stuff.
it out.
But anyway, that's a side note. So all the people seeking after the truth and like I said, I feel like I was protected so many times. I don't know why I deserve that, but I guess or that I actually deserve that, but I'm certain that I was protected or kept from harm, that I was so close to all these actual murderers, abortionists, or people that were just proud of that. That whole world. And it was all so normalized, It was so normal that I thought like it wasn't even odd to talk about it with so-called regular people. I was like, oh yeah, I'm in the OTO or I'm in the Masons. Like, yeah, whatever, no big deal. So yeah, just like I was saying, if any of the rituals or the wishes for money or I don't think I wish for fame really, but uh mainly for money, uh it never worked. But if any of that had worked somehow, I would have been like really all in on it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and it doesn't seem like it works for very many people because the most famous and rich and powerful people you know, well, some of them might be in the OTO and the Freemasons, but um,
I would say they're in those I'd say more they're in those pedo they're in the Satanist pedo cults, you know, like it's either adjacent or it's full on. And as we see now with the Epstein stuff coming out, and they now none of that stuff is. I haven't read through the 20,000 pages of documents. I haven't even read one page, but I don't know to what degree they're mentioning. They mention any of the occult stuff, you know, like the temple on the island or any of that. It seems like they just, even the news that covers this stuff, even the alternative news that covers it, kind of leave out the so-called spiritual element.
yeah, but so let's say they are. It's got to be more sophisticated and subtle than, because it was like I would have never joined the Church of Satan. But
Yeah.
when I saw the Temple of Set, I was like, oh shit, their marketing guy, like this is dope. Like, yes, Temple of Set, that's way cooler, way more sophisticated than,
And
Satanism. So that's
who was
something I
that?
possibly would have participated in.
Who was that famous musician that was part of Temple of Set? Ah, the name was right there. Like trans kind of and Discordian. It was and Discordianism was adjacent to the
Okay.
Kennedy stuff too. You know, dude. It's like it's very weird, man.
Mm,
Uh,
yeah. Yeah, I read a bit about that. The Bob, what something about Bob.
that's subgenius.
Uh,
That's a different thing entirely. That
okay,
I had encounters with that too.
I'm
Also
sure.
fascinating and kind of fun at the time. A little bit dark though. Yeah.
But
Subgenius. A
yeah,
good friend from high school had that book.
yeah. I don't know if I read it, but I read, yeah, some similar, I read The Final Secret of the Illuminati. I read both of those, um, which were, yeah, made an impression on me. Um, but yeah, it has to be more subtle and sophisticated for these higher up people to be involved in it. It's not like they call themselves Satanists, you know what I mean? But I mean, like you got Skull and Bones, and you got all these little kind of offshoots of Masonry often. Um, which also brings points back to like if Masonry did its job, you wouldn't have the highest level Freemasons always going off and creating the Illuminati or the OTO
Right.
or this the Golden Dawn, right? All three of the Golden Dawn founders were high level Masons. Um, so what makes Masonry fertile ground for occultism to thrive in its environment and take it over more or less or whatever.
I was thinking of Genesis Peorage.
Ah, okay,
That
yeah.
was the Temple of Psychic Youth, though. That was a different thing. Not as outwardly nasty seeming as Temple of Set and
Yeah, I didn't get
Chemours.
I'm familiar with the name through this other guy who was teaching like magic.me courses and he was on that what's the comedian's name? Friend of Joe Rogan. You've seen the Netflix thing with him. You've had to have seen that, where he does cartoons to the background of his podcasts. Duncan
Oh,
Trussell.
Duncan Trussell. Yeah, I watched it, and I could see the appeal, but it's
Yeah,
also just complete. The worldview is that Gwinnone. Well, that would be the height of that worldview, but it's like that perennialism, basically.
sure. Well, he interviewed a guy who went to prison for like 20 years and basically said he survived prison. What's this guy named? Damien Eccles. So he had a podcast with this guy that was part of the Netflix show. But he was a Crowley guy, magic guy, and says he kept himself alive in prison from doing magic and stuff like that. He's got a pretty big following on Substack now and YouTube, But anyways, yeah, I didn't get into the Genesis P. Orage stuff.
I
I
didn't
was
either.
more, you know, once I read Crowley, I just kind of digested his worldview and just ran to shamanism with that and just had this kind of, you know, for me, it was like I saw yoga and alchemy as the same thing, essentially. And it's about refining your nervous system and the human organism to kind of be able to more and more subtle levels, to be sensitive to more and more subtle levels until you reach a kind of culmination point, and that would be your enlightenment or your samadhi. And that's
Yeah.
basically the spiritual science. Like you basically deconstruct false identities and false things until you become this kind of pure vessel, and you can kind of receive the light, whatever that is, the life force, higher levels of life force until you just become, I don't know, uh, an adept, enlightened.
I just looked up Aquino. Um, he died
Still
in
alive.
2019. I don't want to celebrate, but also I'm glad he's not in the world anymore. I mean, oh man. And something that came up recently, people are people were kind of shitting on Tucker Carlson, and, like making fun of him because he said that he got attacked by some
Like my
demon in his
demon.
sleep or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
I tend to believe him. I don't think he's just lying on purpose.
yeah.
But also, well, it's funny. The song that's on right now is the beautiful Blue Danube, which is the river right nearby here. Anyway, uh, there's that term that keeps coming up, the satanic panic, which is a term from the 70s and maybe the 80s more.
80s,
And
yeah.
it's a term that this stuff, it blows my mind, you know. But basically, the Wikipedia term, the Wikipedia definition is a moral panic consisting of over 12,000 unsubstantiated cases of satanic ritual abuse, starting in North America in the 80s, spreading through many parts of the world by the 90s, and persisting today. Um, Basically, they were using some of these therapists were using recovered memory therapy. But what I'd say now, this is like the truther version of events, but basically, I think that was a way to head off something that was very real because on the edges of what they called satanic panic, if you look later, so the Finders group was one, and there's a huge file dump of theirs now that's now you can get from some Freedom of Information Act. And there were tunnels, and there were groups, and there were schools connected, and there, you know, there were all these rings in Minnesota, in the Midwest, North Fox Island, like so many different things that actually are true, and people were convicted, or cases where they were not convicted, but like all these kids identified, like that Aquino, they identified him by sight, you know. Yeah, he was one of the people who did it. And like the Presidio investigation, and it was like this daycare. 60 out of 100 of the kids, let me see what it says here. 58 out of 100 children who had attended the daycare showed physical and mental signs of sexual abuse, leading to a lawsuit by the parents for over 60 million in damages. And they tried to investigate Aquino, but the investigation was closed because insufficient evidence was found. But what I was trying to say is when you get to this satanic panic, that's just like a term that was created to brush off all of those accusations. And they acted
Sure.
like they said, well, it was like a wave of what do you call that? Shared hysteria. What is that?
Yeah,
There's a specific term for that.
yeah, of
Now, some people were caught up in it. Some of the accusations were false, but I think that
course.
the people who are in control of all these different groups, which have been demonstrated to exist, still exist, do existed for a long time. Uh, they could just put out, like, hey, let's send these therapists who actually brutalize the kids, so that we can destroy this trial. You know what I mean? They would send people who were for the defense, but who were going to use techniques or whatever, or just a little bit crazy, and then they make the defense. Then they make the not for the defense, excuse me, for the prosecution. But then they make the case unhearable because now all the kids are saying different stuff that they were forced to say. So all you have to do is spin a trial like that. And if you look at the history of a bunch of those trials, they were spun in that same way. Send in somebody who's helping and who's a therapist, or the way the police interviewed the kids, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Prior to that, there weren't so many crimes against kids of that nature. It started really picking up steam at that time somehow. And as soon as it got a bunch of news coverage, then they blew it off. Like the FBI conducted and we know they never lie, conducted a huge investigation and found that there was no satanic rituals going on, no abuse going on, in any of the cases. So then people were making mocking Tucker, calling him saying he's having satanic panic. So people use the term as a way to just brush off this thing that's going on. And this relates to all this occult stuff, because if you go into the occult and you go into those groups, like I said, the guys who got caught in one of the groups I was in that had this stuff, and like you're basically supporting all this kind of thing, this satanic ritual abuse. That's where it all leads to, or your own death, or your own harming other people, harming yourself, taking yourself out. It either leads there or it leads you to orthodoxy. It's not like there's not like a nice middle place where you get to.
Yeah. There was another guy, speaking of Tucker Carlson, who was just on his show, and he's doing like a documentary showing the how tied up the occult is with rock and roll and all the bands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he brought up this one guy, I can't remember his name. He's a guy from the UK. He kind of looks like Crowley too, but his name's Nick something. I looked him up afterwards, and he's made like this new diagram that looks like the tree of life, but it's not, and it's his divination tool. But I haven't looked much into. I mean, I heard him speak. Interesting guy, all into the occult and kind of open about it, and big time into AI and stuff like that. I'll send you this guy's name. His name's Nick something. But then I looked up a debate with him and the kind of right wing guy that everybody says is alt right. David Dennett, no, can't remember this guy's name either. But they both agreed. Also, an interesting thing that I never, I don't know very much about, history and Protestantism and liberalism and like the beginning of these things, but they both identified liberalism coming from Protestantism, like an effect of Protestantism, and that this is the most corrosive thing that we're dealing with right now is liberalism in general, which they kind of defined as something about you that makes you different from everybody else. Like this is the most valuable thing, and that we're searching for, and like that is the individuality, and now atomism. Everybody's divided. That is the root of it. Really, Protestantism gives birth to liberalism, and then this is the water we're swimming in today in our culture. But the interview, anyways, back to the Tucker Carlson and this guy. It was an interesting interview about the connections of AI. I might have sent it to you in Telegram.
You said this was the one with that guy Nick, or somebody else, or he referenced that guy.
With somebody, and this guy kept talking about this Nick guy though, because he interviewed him and knows about him. And then I went back and watched his comments on the Tucker Carlson interview, and then I found some other stuff with him. But it's he's all tied up with
Nick Margarrison. No, is it him?
Let's see.
I think he's in the U.S. guy. I talked to him at some point. Or no, he is a British guy. Maybe it's him.
I'll pull it up in 1 second. Okay, Alexander Dugan debates Nick Land. So his name's Nick Land, and then
Nick
the
Land. Uh-huh. Okay. On path dependence and platform capitalism. This
so the pneumogram. Nick explains the pneumogram on the dangerous maybe. So yeah,
oh, he's an accelerationist, I see. Anti-humanism. Interesting.
but he's going to be getting a lot more attention since he got mentioned so much on Tucker Carlson and seen by 2 million people at least. Um, and he's all up in the occult connection between AI and but anyways.
It's funny, yeah. Just shows how the how broken the so-called right is because they don't have orthodoxy as their foundation, so they're just classical liberals. That's something that Andrew Wilson and Jim Bob and everybody bring up. Andrew Wilson debates on that quite often, but they end up being everyone's. It's just competing classical liberalism, which is
Yeah,
essentially soft Satanism, you know,
yeah,
it, because liberty is the highest. Liberty is the highest value,
right.
and there's still no duties. Uh,
Did you read have you read Guénon or like Julius Evola? Have you went down that?
Canon and a little bit Evola and free. Who's the other one going on? And the other one that
Yeah, there's like three. I didn't know that that was a thing.
Frijoles,
Okay.
Frijole. There's a guy that was on my Facebook. I deleted him for his sake more than mine. I just put him on my prayer list and deleted him because I was tired of arguing with him. But he's like perennialist, but he still goes to Orthodox liturgy. And he would always refer to any when I tried to argue him on any points he was making, he'd always say, "Oh, you guys are always like this." And I was like, "I'm not you guys, dude. It's just me here. Like I'm not propping up some view that Jay Dyer has or somebody else has. Like I'm just talking from my position what I just read you say. Why don't you talk about that?" And then he would just, you guys. But he was always posting about the difference between the absolute and then the individual. And it ends up being monism. The worldview boils down to monism. There's only a few basic starting points of a worldview. How does it account for, again, epistemology, morality, metaphysics, truth? And the perennialism is basically monism. Like, oh, everything leads to God, which is just one step from everything is God, and then it's everything is fine. So in one breath, he's saying all that, and at the level of the absolute, there is no contradiction. Blah 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 blah. And then he would be demeaning some parts of the Orthodox Church for not standing up quickly enough against masks and against the forced medication and all this kind of stuff. And I would agree if I would have had a priest or bishop who's like, you need to take this and you need to wear a mask, I'd be like, no, dude, no way, no way. I'd still be respectful, but I would go to a different parish or seek something else out at that point, not out of disobedience, uh, but out of like, no, no, no. It's uh, Father Cosmas mentioned that anyone who says that you can get sick from an icon or from communion is an atheist, even if it's a priest or whatever. But again, I'm not here to demean our priests or anybody.
Sure. Yeah,
But
Father Gerbolds was talking about that as well.
what
Um,
so this guy was saying that then hold that thought. I want to hear what Turbo said, Father Turbo said. But then he would say like, so he's saying everything, all paths are equally good. They all lead to God and all this. And then he would be upset about something in the news or upset about the way the church handled something. And it's like, well, dude, that however they handled it leads to God in your view. He has no basis to argue against anything because from the perennialist point of view, everything leads to the same place anyway. There's no
yeah.
discussion to be had.
Well,
There's no debate to be had. There's nothing to be upset about there.
Yeah, and well, it's funny because that's in his commentary, Nick Land's commentary on the Tucker Carlson interview where he was brought up, and um, he he kind of landed at the same place. He's like, well, what's more interesting is like God's providence. Like if everything's under God's providence, then everything's serving God at some ultimately, then and he didn't give his view whether that's what he believes and that's why he is an occultist or whatever, but that is the kind of it does boil down to that. And that's a very dangerous, slippery, like that's a very subtle thing because in a sense that might be true. In the end, everything returns back to God, but it's like woe to the one by whom, who does the you still don't want to do, work for the devil. Like even if you're ultimately working for God, right? It's like woe to you who, even if I don't know, like God has to call things all back into himself. Or is there a division that remained, the way my priest put it, what did he say? That everybody will come back to God, but not everybody's going to like it. So it's
Hmm.
like, so the love of God to you, if you're turning away from it, is going to feel like hellfire. But he's still going to bring everything, but then free will, it's a problem. I don't know. I can't articulate enough or have or to even really give my perspective, but
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, both of our perspectives would have to default to the church fathers, the saints and whatnot. Uh,
and I haven't read anything specifically like on. I probably have some, but not like somebody really dove into to that.
yeah, there's something that was, I forget if it was Saint Maximus the Confessor or something. About the cosmology of Christ or something. I should probably get into some of this stuff.
Probably it's probably somewhere in here. This is you can't see it. Anyways, on difficulties in the Church Fathers, the Ambigua, Volume One by Maximus the Confessor, which I bought way too early on in my journey. I'm like, as soon as I became Orthodoxy, let's dig into deep theology. Of course, would be my. Let's not do that.
I
Let's
know,
try
yeah, that's the
something
thing. It's
different.
like,
Let's go
yeah,
to.
I feel better when I'm just, and I'm not saying this about feelings, but I'm saying that colloquially. I feel better when I'm just singing with the choir at church, doing the practicing singing, which keeps me extremely, which humbles me every single time I go to lessons or sing with them. I'm just like, oh man, what am I doing up here? But actually, I need that,
Yeah.
I need to be brought low like as many times as as possible. And
Yes, the humbling continues.
yeah, it's
Um,
funny. I mean, I'll get like a note right, and then for a second it'll feel like, oh yeah, no, dude, no, no,
right.
no,
Right.
turn
Yeah.
away, run away. Oh man.
Yeah.
But
So
just being there singing with the group, and hanging out, having the coffee afterward. No one's talking about this stuff. You know what I mean? Like I like that a lot. Not to say I don't like talking to you. I'm not saying that by any means, but more like uh, I heard Jim Bob say at some point when people call in and try to dispute their worldviews and stuff with him, some of these philosophers will call in and they have such complicated word salad to everything he asks, every yes or no question. And a few times Jim Bob had said, like, if you just go to liturgy and you get into Orthodoxy, you're going to find out it's such a relief you don't have to figure all this stuff out, you know? Like it's a big weight off your shoulders that this Gnostic wound, as Lance would call it, but to start healing that
mm,
Gnostic wound, like you think information gathering, like where is it leading? Where is it headed? What's the telos? I have a good friend who's like, I don't need a telos. I don't care. I don't care about morality. I don't care about ethics. I don't care about church. Uh, and I like kind of like that's where the conversation ends each time because I'm like, well, there's no logic. Who cares about logic? I'm like, well, you're self-refuting machine now. I don't know where that. Probably the only answer is me to just be a better Christian around well, around everyone, but particularly with these folks because she's a good friend and a sweetheart. Like makes food for people, like does things I would consider good, but just has at some point completely rejected Christ and the church and like tried to lock that door. you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I know some of them. The Gnostic wound. That's an interesting way to put it. Yeah. Um, how did that happen? How did we get a culturally wide Gnostic wound?
I'm not sure. Lance uses that term a lot, and I always think I understand him. And now when I'm thinking I'll explain it, I'm like, I'm at a loss. uh, Let me see if it's an actual thing out there. But I think it's this idea that I'm the one. Well, it says, let's see. Yeah, key Gnostic belief is that the material world is a prison, a flawed creation by the demiurge. The wound is the act of the divine spark being trapped within the physical body, causing suffering and separation from the true transcendent God. So that's one way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with Gnosticism. I mean, and I'm familiar, like, that makes sense. I mean, we are addicted to information. We're in the age of information, and yet we realize we're not any wiser for it. Um,
Yeah, what happened there? Yeah. Uh, it's just gonna add up like the pile of knowledge is gonna suddenly coalesce into some and catalyze into some like awakening, the philosopher's stone.
that's probably, yeah, that's what we think, I think. And um, I mean, that's what the artificial intelligence people think. They think they're going to add enough information where one day it's just going to wake up and become intelligent because you gave it enough information. You know what I
You
mean?
see how it's built on a broken worldview. That's what's so hilarious, and all the investment going into it as well. I think they believe that to be real, but it's not even intelligence. It's just
Right.
uh, computing power, basically.
Exactly. I don't get it. That's so simple and obvious that I don't get how you think it's just gonna like wake up one day because you gave it more words to draw from. Like, more zeros and ones. It's gonna just, oh wow, I have a nervous system. Like I'm awake.
Yeah,
Like I don't understand. What do you think? Yeah,
yeah. It's just like getting faster at compiling. Digesting and compiling, and it barely digests. It more just
right.
compiles, contrasts, and compares.
I mean, you heard of this Brian Wilson guy, the don't die guy? He's trying to live forever. He spends like $2 million a year and is
You know what I mean?
it,
Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys.
no, not that
He's in the
Brian
Beach
Wilson.
Boys.
Wait. Um, isn't
Lying
he?
in bed, just like Brian Wilson did.
Um,
Is that the guy that looks like kind of like a cyborg?
it's like a mannequin, yeah, or a cyborg, yes,
Because
both.
Brian Wilson, the Beach Boys. Oh, he died in June. God bless him. God bless the Beach Boys, man. Well, that's too bad. So not that Brian Wilson.
Brian Johnson, sorry,
Oh, Brian
Brian Johnson.
Johnson. Thought you really wanted to get into the Beach Boys there.
I mean, we could, but they got something to say about the occult, I'm sure.
Oh, it's funny
LSD,
that
LSD at least.
the English singer for the rock band AC/DC was also named Brian Johnson.
Mm.
Huh.
But yeah, the guy that looks like a mannequin.
Uh-huh. It's BRY. Yeah, yeah. I see. Oh,
No matter
man.
what.
Disturbing.
So he grew up Mormon, by the way, but then broke out of that, and
He
now.
has that look. Yeah.
But he said, I was actually looking at him because I'm like, for this fast, I'm like, well, he might be a psychopath, but he knows how to eat properly. So let me look at his eating routine. But anyways, he said openly, like his number one competitor is Jesus. He's like, there's been no phenomenon as powerful as Jesus, and he thinks AI is going to turn the world upside down to such a degree that we won't even know what we are anymore. So basically, by you know it's funny because he is going back to the body. So in a way, he's
Uh-huh.
right that he's going back to what do my organs need to survive? You know, because my mind I can't trust. My mind tells me to eat all night and say do whatever. So I can't trust that. So I have to go back to my body. And so in a sense, you know, he is starting at you know, ground level. He just has a you know, obviously a ridiculous worldview that he's not aware of. Unfortunately, he grew up Mormon, so I guess you would dismiss all of Christianity if you grew up in a weird Christian cult.
Yeah,
Uh,
worldview is so broken in there. That the Father, the God, uh, used to be a human, and all their path is
right.
to become like him, and then you get your own universe or whatever you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
But then that means then that father had to have a father, so he's not eternal. So that means what is he? You know,
Um,
it's all so simple. You know, like, of course we can get into complicated stuff about all this, but it really is so simple. Like you can see when you get that worldview broken like that. Okay, well, who would be spinning tales like this? Well, demons would be spinning tales like this, you know? And you
oh,
make
and
it
like I,
all about the complicated,
yeah,
all downstream
right,
from the broken theological point,
right.
all downstream from there. You can just believe anything. It's like, oh, just read, no, read all this. No, you didn't read the right Mormon books. No, 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 read this one, that one, watch this, read that. And it's
That's
like,
what I
no, dude,
said.
I'm not going to read any of it because you don't know who God the Father even is if you're saying he was human at one, you know?
Yeah, no, it's complicated and it's simple, and then it's complicated when you're in the labyrinth, and then it's simple again, and that's where you're lost in the occult stuff or whatever it is, because it's all complicated when you're in it, and it seems like it is until you see it. You know, oh, that's nonsense, or it's just simple. Yeah, it's simple again. Um,
Mhm.
you look at Scientology might be a good version of that because there's probably some value in Dianetics and it's super complicated and you know Freudian mixed with this, but then at the end it's simple. Yeah, aliens came. You know, it's just simple nonsense at the top. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, the
no,
aliens. You know,
yeah, this message sponsored by. Yeah. It's always back to that, dude. Uh,
also can't say perennialism's correct because everybody at least dismisses some religions as nonsense,
mhm.
right? So what separates those from you know you
Right,
have
so
to
it
at
points
least
at an absolute that you have to measure
exactly
by.
exactly.
This is what's so
Um,
amazing about reality. It's composed. It's like it's ordered and composed in this way that leads you if you start looking right to the cross, man. I don't know if we sound like total freaks, you know, to our old friends or whatever here. I don't actually don't care. But I wonder like when I just default back to Christ. I'm trying to think how would that have sounded to me, you know, at the time. Uh,
guys don't know. See, these guys don't get it. When I was in it, I would, but they don't get it. They haven't, you know. Because I listened to Orthodox stuff for a while. I'd listen to Pajot and I'd like digest a lot of his stuff he said, but I was still like, yeah, but he doesn't really understand what Crowley's trying to say, you know. He really
yeah, yeah,
doesn't.
it's always that. I was like that guy came at you about the Masons. Oh no, you don't understand what Masonry really is. You're like, oh, so it's a different heretical sect. Okay, cool, man. Yeah. Uh, and that thing you mentioned earlier about the Protestant thing, it's like the Catholics were the first Protestants too.
Yeah.
So anything that got built after that on that, I was thinking of it because of the filioque, which wasn't the only reason why that happened, but any theology you build on top of that, where it says, and I'm no, by no means prepared to make this argument, but I've seen explanations by Father Josiah Trenum and Jay Dyer and a few others uh, about how the filioque breaks any theology downstream from it. You know, if you say that the Holy Spirit comes from the Father and the Son, that it makes the Trinity like impossible at some point or unequal.
To me, it's just that's so obvious and clear that I don't understand how anybody could not see how that is. It almost on a visceral feeling level, how they don't see that. That I mean, but not only that, but and I don't know anything, but and then just who Christ is throughout the entire Bible. He's nothing. He's here. He's about his father's business. he has no business of his own, right? So it's like the Father fills him up. So clearly, it owns everything. You're creating two fountainheads, one in Christ and one in the Father, and that can't be the case
One in the
just based
spirit,
on
yeah.
who Christ
Oh yeah,
is.
yeah. You would be create two fountainheads.
So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly.
so it's just so obvious. Like, so yeah, I don't get it. I don't get how that's still there. Um, Clearly, yeah. If you build anything on top of that incoherent, it's incoherent, and it's just not biblically like the case. Like,
Yeah, we
but
should get more into this worldview stuff, and we can do some reviewing in future episodes too. Uh, what was I thinking? Because I think with Zoom, if I share my screen, I'm just going to do this as an experiment right now. See if there's something funny worth showing. Um, just want to see how it comes out on the live stream. Let's see. Oh, Canon in the background. That's good. Nice Christmassy sounds. Trying to think something that would be. Um, let's just show more. Khalid, I like this kid. Shorts. This guy that does shorts, or does messing with people in the hood. Let's say. Just try one of his shorts. Uh, this will be totally non sequitur, but I just want to see how sharing stuff works so that we can review stuff. Hold on, I know what I'll show. Wait a minute. There was that Orthodox priest, Greek, B, R. Orthodox priest claims Furby is demonic. That's funny. Let me see if I find this one. I think I sent it to. Oh, where is it? Oh, there he is. Father Seraphim. You know that guy, Chris? Oh, you're not there. Chris disappeared on us. I disappeared on Chris, I guess, too. Uh, well, someone else must have cut it because anyway, Father Seraphim. Someone else must have cut it and made it a short, which is also kind of weird that people are doing that. People are using AI to make icons and stuff. And there's a guy, the top selling under Orthodox Christianity on Amazon. I was reading this on Substack somewhere. Are you there, Chris? I'm talking to you, man.
yeah, I'm here.
Anyway, that's the top seller on Amazon under Orthodox Christianity is a guy who's basically using AI to rewrite books by different saints and stuff like that. And then Orthodox people are buying those, and inquirers are buying those and stuff, huh?
That's no good.
Nah. So they're saying, like, the guy who wrote the article was saying, like, just buy the books, buy the real books from the monasteries at this point, you know? Wild, huh? And like people making icons out of AI, that would be an icon of Satan, then basically. What is the image of, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's coming down to that. It's coming down to the transhumans, which is anti-human, versus the humans, and the one who wants to skew the image of what a human is, and those who are okay with that, right?
Yeah.
And those who aren't.
See if I
Yeah,
find
they
this.
say some crazy percentage of everything you see online is going to be AI, and you won't be able to tell the difference very soon. right?
Yeah, but I can tell the difference. I think I can tell the difference. I don't know about the video stuff, the video where someone's, but I can tell when script or I can tell when a script or a video is being read by AI.
Yeah,
It just doesn't have the nuance yet that a human has, like when pronouncing chains of words or like strange pauses in the wrong way.
right.
Let's see if I find this short that we could share. Messaging, messages. Let's see. That's funny. I still like a little Jesse Lee, uh, even though his theology's totally broken. But I just love the guy somehow. Love his stuff. Let's see here. Um, let's see where we go. That's Leslie. Oh yeah, here we go. I found it. Be truly who you are. Here we go.
Something I say for
Man,
all
that was
of
hard to
you
find.
out
Oh yeah, somebody else did a short out of that guy's material. Okay. That's another thing. I wonder if that's actually cool or not, building your channel off of like, like there's Father Spirit on clips channels and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But we'll
No,
show
I
this.
think,
What's that?
yeah, I think that's acceptable. Um,
I mean, there's a setting on YouTube where to not do that. Yeah. I guess you would ideally talk to your priest about it or write the guy
right,
first too and ask him, hey man,
right.
Father Seraphim, can we clip you? Uh, but here, I'll show this anyway. This is in the line. I thought this related to the way that I reminded me of how I push the undoing or how I approach people on that level and how I integrate that idea of become who you actually are. That's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. Maybe we can talk about that next time. Can make a mental note that we'll both forget about become who you are.
Yeah,
That was something Hyatt put in his books. Become who you are. There are no guarantees. That still holds true. But let's watch this and see, for the sake of seeing how the sharing works on the live stream. We'll go to Opera. We'll go share. You can see this now, yeah?
yep,
And then we'll go ahead and press play.
something I say for all of you out there who either because you feel so fallen in your sin or so despondent, so sad, so old, so ill by any reason that you feel you can't even get yourself to make one prostration before Christ or one bow or one anything. It's not true, my beloved ones. Take things slowly. Take things with humility. Let go of our images of how things should be like, what a prostration should look like, what fasting should look like, and just do what you can and do it wholeheartedly. And I promise you before Christ that Christ will receive that with greater joy than anything you've ever given him, when you could have given him 100 times more in your youth and in your fullness of health. Be truly who you are. Who you are even in your sin. Who you are even in your fallenness. Because Christ will get you, and then he will start transforming you, shaping you, rebuilding you, creating you anew into that saint whom he created you to be in the first instance. The worst thing to do is to pretend that you are something you're not. Do you see how in the world around us that seems to be the main temptation of the world? Everybody wants to be something that they are not. Whatever you are, that's not good enough. You want to be something else. And that creates a world that is entirely fake and confusing and confused, where you are
Well,
no
see, that's
longer
are you
yourself.
following, Chris? I don't know if you're following or not. Um, but to those of you watching at this point, that's fascinating. Try and be aware of that in your day-to-day life, you know? Like anyway, I'll let him finish.
And where you impose upon those around you reactions that are not real, are not authentic. The people around you will respond thinking what you need to hear, what you would like to hear, because they want to be supportive of you, of your choices, even if they think that those are bad choices. So then you create this world where you are no longer yourself. The people, even those who love you, who surround you, no longer have their honest, authentic reactions towards you, because they present you with faces and responses and emotions that are not their own. They are a reflection of what they assume you need from them. And then you've created this false environment in which nothing is really what it is. And everything is dictated by this confusion and falseness, which we initiate because we think that our lives here should be comfortable. Something I say for all of you out there.
I don't know how much of that you saw, Chris. Let's stop the sharing. Uh, you're muted though.
Yeah, I had to run out real quick, but I heard a bit of it, and yeah, that was a good one, and I
I'll
like
send
him.
you. I'll send. Have you seen him before or no?
Oh yeah, yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
He's in Scotland, yeah, Scotland or Ireland or somewhere up
he.
there.
That's not Spiridon though. Spiridon's in Ireland. This is Father Seraphim. I think he's Greek. I'm not sure. Might
Yeah,
be.
but his monastery is up in, I think it's in Ireland. I thought it was in Ireland. Might be
Is
Scotland
it
though, but it's
really?
somewhere up there. Yeah,
Let's go
yeah,
to
he's up
Father
there, man.
Seraphim channel.
What's his monastery called?
It says monastery, Mull
Yeah,
Monastery. Oh, Celtic Orthodox Monastery of all Celtic Saints and Iona Monastery, founder and spiritual father, Orthodox Monastery of the Mother of God and All Saints of Iona. Oh, both in Scotland. Huh.
Scotland. Yes,
Oh wow. I really like his stuff. There's a sweetness to him.
yes, yes. My brothers. He's got the real. Oh, I lost.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know his history, you know, where he is, but yeah, cool. I'd like to go to meet him someday, um, and actually, you know, explore Orthodox England
Yeah,
and
for sure.
UK generally.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I can reach him directly on the.
we'll have to do a
On a doc.
pilgrimage one day. Go up to
Yeah.
Scotland, man. Drink some scotch and do a pilgrimage and go see him. And
Well, what we could do, we could start it over here and go to like Kosovo and then go through Serbia. I'll go to Serbia, Kosovo, Greece, Mount Athos. No, maybe we should start in England, start in UK, and then make our way like through Western Europe and stop
mm,
at those Orthodox places and then end up in Serbia, um, Montenegro, and then Greece, and then end at Mount Athos. That would make more sense.
yeah. Well, my spiritual father is goes to Athos every year for 10 days, and he has a trip, and it's like super cheap. Um, he's like, you can find plane tickets for like 400 or 500 bucks, and you don't need that much money. And anyways, yeah, could plan it around that, and yeah, either come early. We meet up somewhere in England, and then end up, and that would be, yeah, maybe not next year, but soon, sooner
Yeah.
than later.
I don't know. I don't know when either, but nice that we came up with that idea. That would be cool. I mean, maybe it would be kind of thing we could get semi-funded, or if we did something like what just came to mind was like crowdfunding, something like that,
Yeah,
and then giving the half the money to like paying for the trip for ourselves, of course, but then giving half the money to like either both of our churches or find out through. through our priests, like, where it'd be appropriate to give the money to, or maybe to monasteries along the way or something like that.
And we might as well make a little documentary out of it too, right? And
That's
record
what I mean.
everything.
Yeah, bring GoPros and stuff like that, and
Yeah,
yeah, could even hitchhike it. That would be an appealing thing on YouTube.
that's for sure.
Hitchhiking through the Islamic Western Europe, and
Right. Right. Especially now.
I know.
Here we are, Gaza Strip. Oh, duck.
Yeah, no, I don't. For some reason, I never want to go to that whole area. I just do not want to go there. I don't want to go to any Islamic countries. There's places I would like to see some things about Iran, but no desire anymore. No desire for India. No desire for pretty much anything out there on those. I don't even know. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Japan might be interesting, but
Japan would be. That is one. I appreciate their culture and um apparently they're growing. Christianity's growing big time in Japan. I heard actually.
that makes sense on some level.
Yeah.
But hey, man, I got to wrap it up here. We
Yeah.
went for a
Same.
long time. This is nice today. We got a little rambly, a little disconnected, but I think I got a sense more of where we're headed with this. And music in the background is a nice addition. So now we're a little more fancy.
Yes. And yeah, I like
Um,
the idea of bringing up talks to, interrupt us and then comment on that and
like
bring in
reviewing
some.
some of this craziness out there. Some
Yeah.
good stuff, goodness too, but I think it would be fun to review. We could also like do a deep dive into some life of a saint, different fun stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's getting some direction so far. Um, Maybe we need like a Google Doc or something, or some. It's not just a chat somewhere where we can, if we have an idea or a video that we see or something, we can just put stuff in there.
Yeah. Well, I'll actually start this week too, like taking notes on genuine questions, ideas, and things that pop up, and
Cool.
we can, yeah.
And it'd be nice to have Sava on one of these times to field our questions and correct us a little. To have Posh, he's on the other stuff on the channel here. I haven't done a stream with him for a long time, but it would be fun. Um, I sent you that particular clip. You might enjoy looking at that because I thought it was so nice and related. But let me see if there was one other thing I was looking at. No. Oh yeah, I was going to check the stream, but we'll just see how it went. Uh,
Sounds good.
yeah, no problem. So we go to. Okay, I'll check. I just want to see how all the stuff worked, but we'll look at that later. I'll see if I can get it to go to a video. We'll see how the music sounded after all, and then we'll see you again next week. But let's catch up this week and make an idea
Yeah.
so I can make like a thumbnail and like start doing things slightly more pro, and we can schedule the stream out and all that.
Sounds good, man.
And one thing, like I said too, we're gonna want to start using OBS eventually for the streaming, that open broadcasting software. So it's open source, so I mean I can manage most of that on my end, but just something to think about for future because I'm eventually we'll want to use that. It has a lot more flexibility. But for now, I think this works okay. The Zoom is,
Instead of Zoom.
yeah,
Instead of Zoom, you're saying.
yeah.
Okay.
But for now, Zoom is actually really solid. It's super easy to use. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
All right, man. Talk to you
All right.
again
Good to
soon.
see you.
God
Yep.
bless. Have fun.
Yeah.
And we'll see you again next week.
All right, man. Take care.